Hola mis amigos and welcome. We're going to continue our work today making a video about sailplane flying. It's not going to be just from the perspective of the cockpit of the sailplane though. This is going to be a multi-part or multi-segmented video showing both the perspective of the sailplane pilot as well as what it looks like to launch the sailplane from the towplane. And get to see some other things too, like the ground crew hooking up the sailplane, the entire operation basically. So turning into the airport, I'm going to pull up to where the glider is tied down. GPS is talking to me. I know where I am, I don't need it. And then we're going to get ready to go flying. Should be fun. See you there. At this point, we've pulled the glider out onto the runway. I'm communicating with the tow pilot just to let him know what altitude I'd like to go to be released. The line boy is pulling the rope up to the front of the glider. You'll see it in just a second where he'll connect it to the nose and then he'll do a test just to make sure it's connected properly. We use hand signals to communicate basically. And I'm just tidying up the cockpit. The blue line is a drinking line. It gets pretty warm sitting on the ground out here in the sun, so I'll take a drink of water before I take off. And this is what it looks like from the tow plane. I circle around in front of the glider, move forward to stretch the rope out behind the plane so that it's almost taut but still has slack so they can hook it up to the glider. We're back in the cockpit of the glider now. I give the line boy a thumbs up, tells him to lift the wingtip. Since the glider only has one wheel for the landing gear, it needs to be supported level prior to takeoff. And here we go. Tow plane is accelerating. The glider will leave the ground before the tow plane. At this point we're flying, so I hold the glider down close to the ground and wait for the tow plane to get enough speed so that he can lift off, and then we both begin climbing out. Now, back in the cockpit of the tow plane, we've applied full power, we're accelerating. You can see the glider just out of the rear window. He's just trying to stay directly behind the tow plane. And we've lifted off and begun our climb. You'll notice that I keep looking to my left. There's a mirror on the wing so I can look behind and see where the glider is. If he's having any problems or getting out of position, it's important to know for the safety of both of us. We've skipped ahead a little bit here. Up near 2,000 feet, you notice my left hand pulled on the yellow handle, which released the rope from the nose of the glider, and the tow plane turned left. I turned right, the tow plane turned left. That's to give us separation. Here's the same view in the cockpit of the tow plane. Looking back, if you look carefully out of the rear quarter window, you'll see the glider turning to the right there and climbing. The tow plane turns left and begins descending. Now that the glider has been released from the tow rope, the first priority is to find some lift. You'll notice here, flying in a circle to the left, I've flown under a cumulus cloud. There's typically rising air under those clouds, and when I get into it, If I fly in a circle, I stay in that column of rising air, and that causes the sailplane to climb. Meanwhile, back in the tow plane, after the glider releases, the tow plane heads back to the runway to connect to the next glider to launch them. It's important at this point that as the plane comes down, the engine is slowed down gradually. This prevents it from cooling off too quickly, which can damage it. So the whole time it's coming down, it's just a gradual reduction of power. We're lining up on the runway, which you can see square in the middle of the windscreen, just above the nose, headed for the end of the runway. Try to stay high enough to clear those trees, because we still have a 200-foot rope behind us and we don't want to catch it in any of the limbs. Reducing power, slowing down. You'll see the nose come up and the horizon come up in the windscreen. And now we hold it until we touch down. I didn't record the entire flight because that would make this video nearly 3 hours long, but here we are after a nice 2.5-hour flight returning to the airport. You can see the runway just to the left of the windscreen, or the instrument screen. Just to the left of that little flight computer. We're entering what's called the downwind leg. We're going to fly parallel to the runway, making our approach. It was very windy today. Winds aloft were in excess of 30 miles per hour, and you'll notice at a couple of points I get bumped around a little bit. It's pretty bouncy, but overall a very good flight. Had a good time. So here we are, probably around, looking at the altimeter at around 1,100 feet, and we have the landing gear down. You can see the bumps that keep hitting the glider, and I'm tightening the belts because I don't want to fly up in the canopy myself. As we fly down to the end of the runway, we'll make a left-hand turn onto our base leg, and the whole time we're watching the distance and the angle to the runway and adjusting our descent with the spoilers, which I'm operating with my left hand. Continuing to come down. You can see the runway coming around. We're going to stop beside that large hangar that you see just to the right side of the runway. There's two of them. It'll be the second hangar we stop beside. Quite gusty wind, so you see the plane rocking a little bit. Level off near the ground. And we touch down. As the glider slows up, turn it to the right to get it off of the runway. Coast to a stop. And then begin turning off all the electronics. Hope you've enjoyed this. A lot of fun to make. See you next time. If you have any questions about this or any other videos on my channel, feel free to leave a question below. I'll do everything I can to answer them as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.